testimony. I think I asked if anybody, if there was any other testimony. I believe there is, correct? All right, and the next step, I think, the applicant, you have an opportunity to respond to some. You can do some comments.
Thank you. I just don't want to fiddle with that. Well, it's been an interesting couple of hours. We've heard a lot of testimony, a lot for and a lot against, and it's been emotional, the supporters and opposition. I do want to say that there are a lot of inaccuracies in what was presented. I took notes. I've got about 3 pages of notes of the inaccuracies, but I'm not sure, in the interest of time, if that's the best way to approach this. I understand that the next step is for you to ask questions. What I don't want to do is spend time addressing issues and providing information that you don't need. So, in the interest of time, I'm wondering if it's just best for you to ask us questions, and we'll field the questions as best as we can.
We could do that. However, you sure you don't have anything on there that you really need to say or anything?
There's so many things,
Okay.
and I just don't want to stand up here and give you information that you might not need.
Presumably, we'll ask our questions then, and then after, if there's something you wanted to say, would that work?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. Who wants to start? You want to start this?
Yeah, I guess a couple of areas that I had kind of wanted to explore. When I was running for office, there were 4 things I said I'd consider when making decisions that affect the citizens of the county, and one of them was very specifically balancing public safety with our responsibility to protect individual and property rights, and I recognize that those are in tension at times, and this is one of those applications or decisions that falls squarely there. You know, if we approve the move, we're increasing risk to citizens in that area. It may be very improbable that a cat will escape, but it's probably the biggest risk that needs to be mitigated. So if we make a decision to approve this move, we got a moral responsibility, I feel, to ensure that the county is capable of adequately mitigating that additional risk. And the second was, we were elected to make decisions like this. It's our responsibility to say yes or no. And for that reason, I'm not really in favor of substantial conditions of approval that in reality leave the final decision up to other people. In this case, the last condition in regards to a response plan that directly goes to the risk that I believe it's on us to mitigate requires final approval from 4 different offices, 2 other governments other than the fire district. You know, we cooperate, but we are separate government entities, and Department of Wildlife at the state level has a requirement for approval. EOEM works under us. We have a little oversight on, and then a separate elected office, the sheriff. So those are kind of the areas that I'm concerned about. But I have a couple of specific questions. One, we had Peter's CV, it's very extensive. You indicated when you spoke that you had 16 years of experience. I'm not sure if formal training or just experience, but if something were to happen to Peter, you know, there's a traffic accident, something where you're laid up for an extensive period of time, Dr. Robert, are you actually capable of doing everything that needs to be done that it appears Peter does primarily now?
Yeah, yes, I am.
There was mentioning, when we had the site visit, I think it was mentioned, are the male lions castrated or not? Because the application said all the male animals were neutered, but I think I heard that the lions were not.
The 2 male lions are not neutered. I think I had mentioned to somebody that if they were neutered, they would lose their manes. But they're not neutered. But they're not with females because it's a no-breed facility.
Okay. And declawing, are all the animals declawed or some?
The only 2 that are not declawed are those 2 male lions.
Probably got a few others, but I'll pass it on.
I've got a couple questions. I guess this thing automatically shuts. It's on. Okay, for me, one of the important issues to investigate is I think precedent is important. And I think that that's probably a consideration, as it's been stated many times, is that the denial of the 2006 application perhaps gave people some confidence that this type of facility wouldn't be there. So with that in mind, what the reason for denial, I just read the minutes of the Board of County Commissioners meeting here some time ago. The reason for denial that was listed is that the facility does not meet the medium density philosophy. So the 2 questions I have is, how has that changed? And in that it didn't meet it then, the areas continue to be built out since that time. So I really need for you to make some kind of a comparison of why this application is materially different than the one at that time.
Okay, well, first of all, what we had requested back in 2006 was to open a sanctuary. We had no animals and no license. We were turned down, and that's when we decided to rescue the existing sanctuary that was in Elbert County. And I guess I'm not sure if there are regulations about density, but even though there may be a difference in the density between the 2 areas, the people of Elbert County live out around Lions Gate. There's people, houses, ranches.
I live a few miles from there, so I'm aware.
So I heard. What I'm saying is that those people are just as important as the people in the surrounding properties in the proposed location. So if there's a rule about density, then I don't think we would have been able to apply, or we would have been told not to. But nevertheless, I'm sure there are differences in density. I think the Lionsgate property, the density around there has increased significantly. But I would say that all Elbert County citizens matter, whether it's mild density or medium density or maximum density.
I guess I didn't ask my question very well. What is materially different between this application and the one in 2006?
Okay, this application is about relocating an existing sanctuary. Sanctuary has been in Elbert County since 1993. We've had it for the last 10 years. So we're asking to relocate our animals to a safer space. And so what's different is a 10-year track record, animals' lives at risk, and I guess that's the best answer I have. Would you add to that?
Commissioner Peter Winnie, when we applied for the first one, we was actually open up to the public. We was thinking about there was a limit. There was a lot of different things that we was to do back then. This here is senior citizens cats. We are relocating. The density might be more at the new facility than at the existing facility. So really the only thing that I would say has changed different is we're not open to the public. it's a limit time. It could be 5 years, it could be 10, but it's a time limit on these animals. And it's not a permanent situation.
I'll re-explore that a little bit more, somebody else's turn. No.
Yeah, I had a couple questions that, quite a few actually. First one, I believe was talked about during the comments was the reason for moving. Did you folks do any look or any type of analysis on what it might take to mitigate your flooding issue on your property to see? Because when we were out there, it appears as though something's looked as though there might have been some efforts to move or curtail or contain water in the event of the flooding. So that was the first question. Did you folks?
Yeah, this was an issue raised by neighboring property owners at the community meeting originally. And again, this is just a case of people not having the pertinent facts. We decided to be proactive and relocate Lionsgate Sanctuary because the animals are not safe where they are. So from our point of view, we're taking action before any problems occurred to protect these animals and to protect the public welfare. But we completed a lengthy evaluation of the problem over a period of 2 years and determined that this was the best possible solution. It was a permanent solution, not a temporary fix, which is what we've been doing through 2015 and 2016. When we made that decision, we then had Colorado Parks and Wildlife come out and meet with us, and they did observe the damage, and they did, Chris Kloster said that, they did their own evaluation, and I think his letter specifically says they are recommending authorizing a move, and the director would authorize that move. But yes, we did do our due diligence. This is not a move that we wanted. We had 8 years there with no problem. But it's kind of hard to explain, but the level of responsibility and what that means for us and on a day-to-day basis, when things aren't safe, we don't sleep. And so for periods of time, we'd be checking things, all day, every day. And it's just, we decided that Mother Nature wins and we're not going to argue with her anymore. It makes more sense to move to a better location as a permanent solution and not a temporary fix.
Thanks. The next question is, I believe I'm a little bit confused here. If I, as a citizen, I moved into a piece of property and I wanted to start a sanctuary such as you folks are currently taking care of, residing at, what standard would I have to build that sanctuary to?
You would have to build it to an AZA standard. So anyone that wants to open a big cat sanctuary, and no one has even attempted to here in Colorado or in Elbert County, they have to be AZA certified, they have to be a nonprofit corporation as well, and it's a fairly lengthy, I can also suggest that we get Casey Westbrook on the phone to address this, but it's a very costly process. As you know, we're grandfathered in, so we don't have to meet AZA certifications. However, the facility is grandfathered in. The license is not. We have to renew our license every year. Excuse me, pardon me, and we have to meet CPW standards every year.
Now that part of this question, if you could. The difference in standards, is it significant or is it the same? How does it apply? So if I build a new facility, could I build it to the same standard that your facility or your projected facility is gonna be built to? Or would it be different?
Well, it would be different because ACA requires a lot of landscaping and making it pretty for people because they would have to get USDA license and be open to the public, and so they've got to have restrooms and parking areas and facilities for the public, which we don't have and don't need.
Would safety requirements be heightened with those other standards?
No. That's why I'm saying every year we have to renew our license, which means we have to be at the standard that everybody else has.
Commissioner, we're actually building our standards for actually USDA, the federal government, that goes around and inspects all zoos, anything that's open to the public with exotic animals, private facilities, zoos, the USDA goes and inspects them. Our enclosures are at least, if not better, than their standards. AZA was put into place to discourage people to come in and set up new facilities. The Division of Wildlife, all the sanctuaries got together and put a plan together so somebody won't just put up a facility someplace, gets tired, leaves, and other sanctuaries takes over. Pat Craig, facility there, he's not AZA, he doesn't want to be AZA. He's USDA. His standards beats AZA. It's just another license, another way to discourage somebody to say, hey, let's go to Colorado and put up a facility. But we,
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Yeah, you mentioned during the flooding in 15 that you'd relocated the animals. They were relocated within the major enclosure you have, or were they?
Oh, some animals we have to move to higher ground, yes,
Okay, but within the current facility?
within the current facility, correct.
All right, and then, okay. Again, I just go back to the response plan piece, which I know what we were provided was extremely rudimentary, very much draft, but it addresses truly what the worst case would be, which is an escaped cat. How much coordination have you done with all these agencies that, as this is currently presented, would become the final approval for this?
Well, we have worked with Elizabeth Fire Department and Office of Emergency Management and also Sheriff's Office. But what we agreed to is we would produce a document that meets with their approval, all of their approval. But it's just begun. And so they've had one read through, but we want the opportunity to meet with each department to go through everything to get it up to their standards.
Have you gotten any feedback from them, or it's just been provided?
Yep, we have some feedback and some good feedback that we fully plan on implementing. We had a site visit for all those offices at both the proposed site and current site, and we received very valuable feedback that we are willing to implement if this gets approved.
Okay. And then it's come up several times. Usually in land use things, I don't get into people's business plans. To me, we're talking about land use, and it's really not our job to determine whether somebody's got a good business plan or not. But funding has been brought up several times. I mean, if this were approved today and tomorrow all the conditions were met, do you have the money to build the facility?
Oh, yes. And the other thing too is that, you know, we're a nonprofit corporation, so we fundraise periodically anyway. But right now, let me just think about this for a second. There's a couple of things going on. We would use some of the materials that we have. And there's some things that we can't use, like concrete, so we would be utilizing services in Albert County for that. And, yes, we have the money to go forward with the building of the enclosures to everyone's standards, CPW standards, et cetera.
I just have to, what do you anticipate your relocation costs? to be?
I don't know, because at first we were thinking we were gonna have to start from scratch, but we don't. We have a lot of material that we can use, fencing material, that we can reuse. Casey Westbrook has evaluated our current facility and said the things like the 9-gauge chain link we can reuse. He's given his approval for us to reuse that. So our costs have been mitigated a great deal by just being able to reuse things. Plus, we've had people willing to donate. We've got people willing to donate some concrete, willing to donate wire and a number of other things. So we've had people step up and say that they would help us out.
Well, you've answered one of my questions, were you going to recycle the old facilities? And if I understand your answer, the answer is generally yes.
Yes, if you recall,
I understand you can't reuse the concrete, it's tough mixing.
if you recall the enclosures that we showed you that were built by us, those ones will be taken down and reused. And reuse the concrete, obviously.
Okay, and I'm a little bit puzzled by the internal inconsistencies of the application packet about 3 animals, 18 animals, 6 animals, 25 animals, and apparently there's 11 now.
Yes, there's no inconsistency. With all due respect, Commissioner, our animals have passed on.
Well,
We have 11 left.
I was using that to lead up to the real question.
Okay.
At the death of the existing critters, what are you going to do with the new facility?
Probably tear it down. We're not getting any more animals. We've made a commitment to that. We just want to see these animals through and let them live out their lives in peace. We're not getting any new animals. We haven't gotten any new animals since we owned the sanctuary.
You'll have to pardon me, I had a different intuitive, and I noticed I didn't say facts, I said intuitive concern. And that is the county commissioners at the time turned down your previous application. You've moved out to the Prairie Winds, and I think I have no problem with it being out there. And now we're making an application for basically a third facility, although it's similar to the original one, I suppose. Are we being played and set up to have a new SUR in a couple of years as these critters die off, because you'd have to have some kind of if you wanted to continue in business or in operation, I guess is a better word to use.
No.
I had a sense of discomfort.
Okay, let me try to make you feel comfortable. We've signed off on no more animals. This is it. We will shut down. The license will die with us. And anybody that starts fresh, good luck to them. It's not likely in Colorado, but, I'm not going to say never. But, when the last animal passes, this SUR dies, and the sanctuary dies with us. We have the license, which is CP 270, and that dies with us. That will close.
I haven't discussed it with her, but I might leave one run open for my shepherds. I might try to get a puppy. But the rest of the stuff, we'll just recycle, sell, take down, and nothing personal to anybody here, but commissioners, I don't want to stand up here and go through this again. This is good for me. So, not being played, the last animal passes away, CPW gets a license, and that's it, period.
But that defies logic. And I guess it's the engineering that's coming out. Is when we visited your facilities, and I appreciate you allowing us to do that, because fixing the flooding problem there, it looks to me, I could do it with my backhoe over a weekend. I walked down to your lane that was coming in. It has too small of a culvert in it, and it was full of sticks, so it's basically plugged. I looked then at the drainage coming off the hillside from, I guess it's from the north down to the south, and I can see where the flooding's coming from. But again, it would take less than 3 hours with the backhoe to build a diversion there. So the flooding issue, I've discounted that completely. The idea that it's better for the animals, if that's what you believe, I accept that. If it's more convenient for you, I accept that. But the reason given doesn't make sense to me. But I do understand you have property rights and things like that. So again, it goes to my sense, and it's my sense only, of the inconsistency of the logic of this. And the lifespan of it too. That contributes to my discomfort with the logic. And that was, I know I made a speech there, I apologize for that, but I really meant it to be a question.
Well, all I can say is that we've reviewed things very carefully. We've consulted a number of different people, many different occasions, and with CPW as well, and that was a decision that we made that felt the safest for the animals and to protect the public welfare. So I'm sorry that you disagree, but again, in all due respect, you weren't there.
Well, I think yourself, I had over $250,000 worth of damage under my building. So
Well, I understand, but when we're in charge of these animals, and you know, it's a heavy weight. We're held to a different standard, but it's a big responsibility we take very seriously.
what do you think of the current facility?
I beg your pardon?
What were you planning on doing with the current facility?
If approved, we would basically take what we can in terms of materials from that property and we would just sell it. And I think somebody asked about, could somebody put a sanctuary there? No, because the license goes with us.
What was your most recent inspection from CPW?
I'm sorry.
When was the most recent inspection from CPW?
It was last month?
Last month? Okay. Were there any comments on, I guess what I expected, when we talked about, I was expecting to see kind of a more detailed inspection record from your facility, and I guess I didn't see that in the packet. I kind of looked at that as being, you know, probably one of the positives, if I could say, because really, do they give you documentation? Do they provide that? Do they provide a detailed report on a checkoff sheet of some kind? What does your inspections entail, I guess, is what?
Casey Westbrook does the inspections, and then he reports to Chris Kloster and Eliza Hunholz, who are all upper management in CPW, and he sends a copy to us and sends a copy to them.
Why weren't those included?
I don't know. I guess I didn't think about that. Don't know. But we go through inspections every year, and we haven't had any problems. I guess I would have included if there were problems, but there hasn't been, and that could be verified with Casey Westbrook.
Based on the letter that you received in November of 2015 that talks about the relocation, it appears as though, based on this letter, they looked at the damage and they just kind of agreed with you, it doesn't indicate that they're requiring you to move.
No, they're not requiring us to move.
Okay.
They're authorizing us to move.
They're authorized, and I just wanted to be sure I had that language correct.
Yes, you're correct.
Okay, because I wanted to look at this letter and see, because it is your intent to move, not that they are required. So,
Correct.
so they have seen you since they sent this letter.
Yes.
Okay, that answers that question. The one thing you mentioned in your documentation, which you have a letter of credit to the Department of Wildlife for.
I beg your pardon, I didn't hear you.
You have a letter of credit to the Department of Wildlife.
Oh, yes, it's called a irrevocable standby letter of credit. It has to be renewed each year. It's if something happened to Peter or I, and we had to close down the sanctuary, that CPW would have the funds available in the bank and access to those funds to take over and place the animals.
All right, that helps. If you didn't get authorization through CPW to move, what would you have done?
I don't know, that didn't happen. I'm sorry, I don't know. I guess we would have just kept trying to do the best we could with what we had.
You could have moved, basically just moved to a new location and actually started up another sanctuary. Could you have done that?
No.
No. Thank you. Chris?
Two quick ones, I mean, this is kind of pro forma, we always ask. The 10 conditions that were presented, they are acceptable to you.
Yes, they are. They're very reasonable.
And I'd say number 9 talks about not accepting new animals once all the animals that you currently have passed, that the SUR would be removed. And obviously, and the SUR would be terminated from the subject property. If we get to that, would you accept an additional condition of approval that you would agree that the SUR would also terminate if you transferred ownership of the property?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I have one more.
Okay, actually, one more that's kind of
Go ahead.
straight topic, I guess, but you had talked about polyethylene screens on fencing. Is that the internal enclosure, or is the external perimeter fencing?
The external perimeter fence.
And any concerns, or have you done any discussion engineering wise with, it's a 10-foot fence that runs for hundreds of feet, that's a big sail in Elbert County, and how do you keep a fence that big in place when it's a big sail in Elbert County? Yeah.
We have shade cloth that was donated by North Suburban Parks and Rec. So they have donated thousands of yards of shade cloth, and it takes a long time to put it on, but it works just fine.
Okay, but I mean, in terms of, it's not uncommon to multiple times a year have storms with 60-mile-an-hour winds. What keeps your fence from lining up in Kansas?
Absolutely, and we've learned how to mitigate that. I'll let Peter address that.
So the perimeter fence, the post is cemented in 2 feet in the ground. The corner post is up, it goes down 3 feet, stretched, and then the shade cloth will be proper tied down. So
What's the length of that perimeter fence envisioned? It was what, 220, something like that?
yeah, it's about 220. it won't go anyplace.
I would,
And we have to check it all the time, because the winds can be very wild, so, yeah, we have to check. It's a standard procedure though for us to check all those things every day. But it's definitely, it's something that we have to always pay attention to, is the weather.
like I said, I guess I'm in, I'm not worried about your screening blowing away, but your perimeter fence being taken out. I mean, 2 feet doesn't do much. I mean, that's an awful lot of,
Yeah, actually what happened with the shade cloth, it actually ripped way before the fence would move, if the wind took it.
okay, there's an answer.
My last question is, the question of compatibility, harmony, safety, all of these wonderful words. The reasoning given by the planning department of what is compatible, what is harmonious, I don't buy. Tell me why you think that this would be harmonious with the neighbors, or compatible, I guess is a better way to put it.
Okay, the best way I can address that is by saying that the current facility has lived in harmony and is compatible with the environment that it's in. It already exists here.
That's because you have wacko neighbors living out there.
But I'm not going to go there. So there's no evidence of incompatibility. There's no evidence of disharmony. And yet we've proven there is evidence of harmony and compatibility, because we have not received no problems with any neighbors, the state, or the county. And so I think we've proven that the sanctuary can live in harmony and is compatible with Elko County residents. I mean, most of the people out there, as you know, are ag people. They drive by all the time. They don't pay any attention to our sanctuary.
That was my point.
Yeah,
Is that
they're ag
They
people.
live out there far enough away that if they roar, they roar.
Well, the proposed location is very private, and we would make it as secure as this one. And it's not, you can't see it from the county road. Yes, some neighbors can see it, but you can't, there's no traffic there on Judge Adams Road, other than you can go and live
You
there.
bring up an interesting dilemma,
Okay.
and that is where it's located. There's a county road goes back in front of it. You can come in it from the left, you can come in it from the right, you can get close to it from Ridge Road. There's lots of alternate access to it. The question then, because of a dead-end private road, is that safer or less safe? My instincts tell me it's less safe because there's only one entryway. And secondly, because it's a private road, that leaves the county people with less control of it. And then thirdly, is the delivering of water on the private road. I assume that the concurrence of the fellow people that use the road, but more importantly, as I look at that 1,500 gallons, the concern that I have is from time to time, as you pointed out, by flooding, we have bad weather. And if the truck is unable to get there, I guess your emergency supply would be your own water. But the main question I'm bringing up is the water. I'll let you worry about it. Is just emergency access. Generally speaking, when things are approved, and I'm going to let the fire department address this if they wish, or the police people, the sheriff's office if they wish, but I find that an intuitive negative, that it's a dead-end road, private road, and now I realize you get close to it off the paved road, so that's better, I suppose, but address that issue if you would.
Yes, I will. I disagree. I think it's a big asset because there are only people that live there that use that road, and like I mentioned, we all contribute to its maintenance. All the neighbors, all the people that live on Judge Adams Road contribute financially to its maintenance. We're not open to the public, and so with the exception of the publicity it's getting here, no one's really gonna know we're there. And so I think it's even better and it's even more secure, because somebody would have to very willfully try to get in. And like I said, nobody's even tried to do that, and we're on a county road right now.
The
The other
emergency
issue,
access,
I beg your pardon?
the emergency access question?
Yes, for water, we would,
For fire trucks, yeah.
yes, we have, the fire department has been out, they do have access, actually, yeah, I'm sorry, why don't we just let the fire marshal answer that question?
Hi, good afternoon, Commissioners. Tara Brzezinski, Fire Marshal of Elizabeth Fire. The private road itself, according to our provisions, needs to be an all-weather surface so that we can access it at all times. We have put provisions in for the facility itself for an all-weather surface down to the enclosures. And so that would be part of our conditions of approval if this happens to move forward.
Again, I'm a slow thinker, help me out here. So does that mean that the road as it sits now is good enough, or does it have to be improved?
The road as it sits now would have to be improved. We did go down that road. It is not an all-weather surface. We would need to put some road base down to make sure that it is an all-weather surface for access.
So would that entail also a road and bridge agreement?
So when we do, it's more of a driveway and an access for us to be able to get down to the enclosures. I don't know if that would actually have road and bridge have to be involved in that. Personally, if they are improving the road, we aren't improving the width of it. We told them the width of the road was fine. It's just the surface itself.
Is that their driveway or is that Judge Adams Road?
Oh, that's part of their driveway down to the enclosures, their private driveway. Actually, Judge Adams Road is a private road. It still needs to meet the standards and conditions of Elbert County roads. It needs to be an all-weather surface at all times. I believe that sometimes in some roads in Elbert County don't meet those requirements at some times, but as part of conditions for private roads, they are to be all-weather access at all times.
Just, Kara, just so I'm really tracking.
Sure.
Is Judge Adams Road right now meet that requirement, or would we? they're
Or
sure
would
it's
Judge
set-
Adams,
Yeah. I mean,
Okay,
and
so
I
I-
agree, yeah, we've got issues with all weather access on all our roads, I mean, but,
the county does approve
Right.
all of our roads. So we put the standards in place and the county does approve whether the road is all access or not. We do have some conditions there. What makes it an all-weather access, the county does those approvals for us. I would not like to come in and say, that is not an all-weather surface, without having the county and Road and Bridge and I
we won't come
converse
in
about that.
and
So
judge fires.
when we were out there, I will say it was probably spring. It was all-weather surface at that time. I would fair to mention that there are many roads that probably are not all-weather surface, and some of the storms that we've had and some of the snow that we've had and rainstorms. But, you know, we do work with the county Road and Bridge to make sure and maintain most of the roads out there, so. Are there any other questions?
Carrie, you requested an emergency operation plan. I believe that was a request or a requirement. What you received, you have received kind of the initial draft, correct?
Yes, I have received an initial draft of the emergency operation plan for the facility. There were things that I had asked them to update within that plan. And remember, that plan was based on my review comments that came in. And so I had that, in my review comments, I put specific things that fire safety wise, that I wanted to see, fire extinguishers, mitigation around the property, so that large wildfires or wildfires coming through, we're gonna put those boundaries in place. So my concerns have to do with fire safety and fire concerns at the facility. I do know that there might be other concerns out there, and I don't address those as part of my review process.
So at this point in time, though, those specifications or those requirements you have not been met, correct?
So it's hard to meet requirements right now, because the facility might not be approved. So the requirements that I have are requirements as conditions of approval. So when that facility comes in, we will be doing the inspections to make sure that it meets the conditions of approval for the fire district for that fire safety component.
Here, that's all I have.
That works for me.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Put that back up there.
Thank you. Could I just address Commissioner Thayer, who had asked about water?
Yes, sir.
As most residents of Elbert County understand, the weather can get in the way of things getting done. So you plan and you prepare, and we would have emergency water on hand, not from our well, but emergency water that we purchased from McDonald Farms. So we would plan for that and have water available in case we're stuck for a couple of days.
And again, just from reading your application, you said you'd have about 1,500 gallons on place. Is this in addition to the 1,500 gallons, or is it inclusive within the 1,500 gallons?
Probably another 750. We probably put another half amount as backup water, and that would have to be monitored and changed as needed.
Again, I regret, I always try to do my numbers. So it looks like your animals drink about, or are utilized, I'm not sure what the right word is, about 50 gallons a day. Is that 30 times 50 equals 1,500?
No, Commissioners, that's including the pools. We have horse troughs that we fill up for the summertime, for the cats and for the bears. So that's including that water and the drinking water.
So
The
1,500
cats,
gallons?
yeah, so the cats, right now, if they drink 3 gallons of water a day,
That's it, again,
the big cats, the tigers and lions, they drink about 3 gallons to maybe 5 gallons a day, depends on how cold. The bears about 10 gallons. And again, it depends on the temperature, it depends on the activity. So really the rest of that is going for their pools.
I didn't realize that cats drank less than cows do.
They do.
Kind of a question back on the private road. I know different folks manage their private roads differently. Some groups of neighbors get together on their tractors, maintain them. Some have agreements where they kick in a certain amount of money and they're contracted out. What's the nature of the maintenance on Judge Adams?
The maintenance is that neighbors contribute, or people located on Judge Adams contribute $20 per month per property. And then of those neighbors, there are a few that run the equipment to clear snow and manage the road, maintain the road.
Okay.
So it's managed internally.
Okay. And I'm not talking condition of approval right now, but just, you know, again, access to your property in an emergency, you know, maintaining, for most people, making sure that fire truck can get to their home if there's a fire. If they don't maintain it or the community doesn't maintain it, it's kind of on them. If
Well-
there's an issue with that road, you know, the risk again goes beyond those properties that are served by that road, so.
Okay, I understand.
Confidence level that you'll always have that road available.
Okay, well, yes, in fact, Judge Adams Road, sorry, but it's usually plowed well before 106. So we have pretty good maintenance.
Okay. Yeah, I got a couple more questions that came up. Your constant 24-hour monitor, that's been indicated. Can you define that for me, please? Kind of how you're accomplishing that?
At the proposed location, we want to put in security cameras that will be hooked up to our cell phones and computers so that we can monitor 24/7. And if there's any alarm that goes off, we'll be notified immediately. And that would be on all the time.
Alarms such as, what type of alarm would you get? Like a fence down, something like that? Can you? What I'm looking for is I'm trying to find out, there's a reaction time here, as if you had an animal escape to some, and what I want to know is what the length of time would be before you're aware and a request can be made for resources, for an event. That's what I'm trying to get you to see, truly, how that would be managed.
Well, 24-hour surveillance through cameras that would be hooked up to our cell phones and computers, we would know immediately if there was a problem. We would probably hear a problem before we got the alarm, but the alarm would sound in seconds. And that's part of what we have to work out with Elbert County Sheriff's Department, exactly the procedures that they want us to go through, you know, should there be an escape or an alarm that goes off. So that's something we need to work out with Office of Emergency Management and Sheriff's Office.
On top of all the enclosures, there's to be a wire that if anything touches it, an alarm will be set off. And there'd be actually time from the house to down to the facility. It'll take about 3 minutes to see what's going on. And then I'm down there, Joan's on the phone calling. The problem probably be solved before first responders arrive.
If you're home.
I'm sorry.
If you're home.
One of us would be home. And, you know, I'm talking about these 11 animals, commissioners. I'm not talking about new ones. I'm not talking about anything else. And one of the questions came up about the human error of everything. These 11 animals, one thing I can 100% guarantee, there's two things I can 100% guarantee. Number one, those cats, those bears will not climb out. They will not dig out. They will not chew their way out. And they will not charge the fence and knock it down. And why I can say about those 11 animals, I'm not talking about any other animals, but those 11. So the last 10 years, I have watched, learned, and studied what they do. When everybody was out there, I explained exactly what an animal probably would do. When Ed Egan gave one of the tigers a little look, she didn't hit the fence, she did try to climb out. She showed her fangs, growled a little bit, said, hey, this is my home, and that's it. These animals are seniors. They won't, so that way they won't come out. The second thing I guarantee is the gate's not going to be left unlocked. There's only 2 people here that has the key to those enclosures, and it's us 2. And for 24 years, I had public safety, always number 1. That means when I was taught to open up a gate, to walk a cat, to get a cat ready for a show, an educational thing, before that key went to the lock, my job was to make sure I knew exactly what that cat was going to do. There's no second guessing. You know, and I'm not saying talk about any other new animals, Commissioner, talk about those 11.
you're basing that on the behavior that these animals have exhibited over, you say, the 10-year period, correct? Right?
Yes.
Okay, and that's within the same facility they currently reside, right?
Yes.
Okay. The concern I have is that you alter their environment. And you pretty much, you take them, you move them, which is gonna be pretty traumatic to these animals based on the comments from your